call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, there it is. There it is. I'll forget it. That's why I come to these things.
That's right, just to do that.
Roll call, Mr. Farrar.
Mark Finkel.
Here.
Albert Hayes.
Here.
David Bergstrom.
Here.
Anthony Mena.
Excuse.
Jeffrey Rosenthal.
Here.
Kenneth DeWitt.
Here.
Robert Smullen.
Here.
Robert Leslie.
Here.
Robert Coltan.
Here.
John Hudson. Here. Stephanie Rizicki. Here. Richard Farrar. Here.
Thank you. I'd like to take the first opportunity here to welcome our new board member who just got introduced, Ken DeWitt. Welcome to our board. I hate to put you on the spot. You want to just give us just a little brief background on yourself? I didn't clear this with you beforehand. I'm sorry.
That's fine. I spent 39 years, really 40 years with the Wall Street Journal in Manhattan. And before that, I spent 4 years in the U.S. Air Force. And
Thank you for your service to our country.
thank you. And I loved every minute of my job at the Wall Street Journal. I loved going in. It was just a great opportunity. And I've been waiting for this appointment for quite a while.
Yes.
Enjoying your company and doing some good work here in upstate New York.
Very good. Well, welcome on behalf of the board. Welcome to our little group. Number 4, we need to revise the meeting agenda to have an executive session for personnel issues.
I'll make that motion. Second.
Any questions or okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There's no public comment. Nobody's asked to speak, and our only guest is Gil Van de Gilder. Did I say that right? Van de Gilder from the Sacandaga Protection. We need the approval of the October 11 board minutes. We all got them. Any additions or corrections?
No.
Motion to adopt?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Report of the Executive Director, Mr. Smullen. Colonel.
Good morning, board members. Thank you. For the last month or so, we've done 5 weekly flag report updates to the Executive Chamber. I've been dialoguing with the Assistant Secretary and the Deputy Secretary regarding our budget for the next year. One thing of note to add to the packet that you have in front of you on page 10 is that we, the senior staff, are doing a budget line item review and emphasizing any areas that show potential cost savings.
Yeah, me too. That's mine. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
We're looking for paperwork that both of us had and
Okay,
no longer have.
Go ahead.
We're just starting to get into our thinking as far as staff and then the board to review the next 3-year budget cycle, which is coming along, which we'll be discussing in the months coming ahead, sort of thing. Which will be, if you go back and think to our facilities maintenance update plan, will be in consonance with that. Some executive actions that we've taken over the course of the past month since we've met. We had a favorable response from the Watertown Daily Times following the tour of the Black River area, county officials to the dam and the power plant at Stillwater Reservoir. So I think our public messaging and outreach, both on the Hudson River side and the Black River side as well. The Adirondack Express has submitted a press inquiry on the Old Forge and Six Lake project, and it was answered with senior staff input. The chairman and I also attended the Great Sacandaga Lake Association installation dinner, one of our public stakeholder organizations around the Great Sacandaga Lake, along with the Sacandaga Protection Committee. The officers there were sworn in for the next year. On the 30th of October, the Great Sacandaga Lake Advisory Council, Henry Hughes is the chairman of that. We, the district, sit as members of it, did a pre-screening of the upcoming documentary Harnessing Nature, which is the documentary, the historical documentary that has been shepherded by the Saratoga County planner and Saratoga County historian to chronicle the creation of the reservoir. And they offered us the opportunity for the district to do some of the voiceover work for the construction of the dam, and I think it turned out very well. The project overall has been well received. On the 25th of November, it will be shown at Northville Central School in the high school gymnasium. So hopefully some more folks will do that. I've done some planning with the New York Naval Militia, the New York State Department of Military and Naval Affairs, as well as Saratoga County, their Emergency Management Office. They approached us as to whether or not the district and myself, I'm also a member of the New York Naval Militia, to do a training exercise on Great Sacandaga Lake and Stewart's Pond Reservoir. It's basically the idea behind it is to do some sort of emergency response exercise involving all of the agencies that would typically be in part of an emergency action plan having to do with the Conklinville Dam. And we're working out the details of that, and I'll plan on bringing, once we've made the details, flesh them out, is to bring them to the board and have the board review those details for this exercise. But basically it's an emergency response to some sort of exercise at the Conklinville Dam. And we think that will be in September of 2018, so about a year from now, sort of thing. It takes a while to plan these things because of all the involvement of the various agencies. Our newsletter, the quarterly newsletter, will be published this Thursday. I got very good content and a lot of input from a lot of folks. I'll run that by the board via an email tomorrow afternoon to be able to show the content. But it's been very well received in the public, of the permit holders and other interested parties that it's sent to. We're doing very well. We have an open rate somewhere about 65 to 67%, which is absolutely phenomenal in email terms, as well as driving more people to our website, particularly the water level and the monitoring that the public does of the website. So we're having some success there. And subject to your questions, that would conclude my report for this month.
Any questions? Okay. I apologize, Steve. We were looking for some papers and then we were talking while you were trying to talk. I apologize for that. There are no contracts for us to discuss this month. So we'll go right to staff and committee reports. General Counsel, Mr. Left.
As of yet, there's been no decision in the Erie v. FERC appeal. The case is argued as late as the second week in September, some cases have been decided, but other cases heard as early as last March or May of 17 have yet to be decided. So hopefully we're getting close, but we are not there yet. Basically, for Mr. DeWitt's clarification, three-judge panel of the United States Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit heard oral argument in the Erie v. FERC appeal on September 25th. Erie's challenge was to FERC's orders concerning FERC's August 21st, 2015 order calculating dates for the commencement of headwater benefit assessments and FERC's November 19th order on rehearing dismissing motion to stay. Basically, it's the date upon which FERC must begin paying the regulating district for headwater benefits associated with the Conklinville Dam and the benefits that derive to the downstream hydros from our operation of that dam. The Federal Power Act makes the hydros pay a certain portion of our costs. And we determined those costs, we've determined everything, it's just a matter of when those assessments have to start. And there's $15 to $17 million at stake. So we hope that we get a favorable ruling, and my date, my chosen date is Thanksgiving. So I'm hoping that we get a favorable ruling by Thanksgiving. But I didn't pick the year.
Good point.
With respect to the Brea land purchase connected to the Hawkinsville project, we're still waiting the abstract of title, which was previously ordered. The abstractor has explained that some confusion in the title dating to 1918 and 1925. It almost sounds like the Hatfields and McCoys, but there's a group in Brooklyn that set a quitclaim deed indicating they had no longer any interest in any property in Boonville, and that somehow gets in our chain, and yet there's another clearer title chain that puts that little parcel of land firmly in the hands of the people that are now getting ready to send it to us. Ultimately, we're the state of New York. We have the power of eminent domain. It's a dam. We're going to put dirt on land next to an existing dam. If somebody really wants to fight us over this, we're going to win in the end. It's just going to cost us more headache. So, is our title going to be perfectly clean? No. But we understood that when our current seller said, yeah, we'll give you a deed, we're just not going to give you a warranty deed. We'll give you a quitclaim deed. So I already knew there was something amiss.
I don't want to get in legal gymnastics because you and I are the only lawyers here, but I think, number one, it doesn't make it any less marketable or insurable.
Right.
It's like my garage hangs over 2 feet on someone's property and has done so since 1910. And the second thing is, why not a bargain and sale deed? I mean, why not just split the baby in half, so to speak?
I think that's where we're headed.
And then the next overriding question is, does it amount to, no pun intended, a hill of beans for the title company? Obviously not. Okay.
And yet, it's taken a significant amount of time to get title. I mean, we're 3.5 months in.
Right.
Since we ordered title. So
that's really my overarching point.
We'd like to get it moving forward. Along the same lines, Rob Fulton explained yesterday that the Army Corps of Engineers has come back and has expressed some concerns regarding our potential to impact a wetland where the new embankment would go, which will require either some sort of tit-for-tat mitigation or a check written to the outside entity of the Army Corps' choosing. Travel Limited, I think you were talking about. Ducks.
If that option still exists.
So, I think we'll get DEC involved and see if we can't
Mitigate.
figure something.
Ameliorate.
Ameliorate the call. DEC they met out there with the executive director and myself. Their counsel was up there for another reason and asked us to meet him up at the site. He now has a better understanding of what we're looking to do and I think what they're willing to fund as far as creating access and building a small fishing pier or deck. Ultimately, I think we ought to be able to work something out. I think until we get title in our hands, they're not going to make any proposal because they want to make sure it stays in their budget year. And I guess Other than that, I participated in several of the interviews with candidates for the position we'll be discussing. That's my report. If there's any questions?
Very good. Any questions, Mr. Leslie? Thank you very much for your report. Very good. Compliance Officer, Mr. Zicki.
Thank you. My report can be found on page 12. We have several MWBE reports for this. We received this quarter at our state development. Our second quarter utilization was submitted. Currently, our year-to-date utilization is 11.9%. We're a little low right now, kind of slow start, but I am anticipating that we will get additional utilization through upcoming projects. We have a roof project at SFO. They're ready to excavate and do some work up there through an MWBE company, so our numbers should hopefully increase. On pages 13, 14, and 15 of the report, you'll find the contract report. As a reminder, pursuant to Public Authority Law, Section 2879, you must review and approve those. Reviewing these satisfies that requirement. Rick and I met with IMC. They are an MWBE company to discuss the development of a contract to create the online payment option for the permit renewals. It would be something like a PayPal option. So we are working on that. We won't get that done for this renewal period, but maybe next year we'll have that in place. That concludes my report. If you have any questions.
Just, can you, the new board member, and we're kind of speaking abbreviations. Did you understand what she was talking about, MWB? And is that clear to you? I mean,
If you did, then we're going to question your presence.
And I've been reading through this whole thing, and
you stayed away?
I didn't understand a lot of the abbreviations.
Would you want to?
Sure. We are required to meet the state's required about 30% MWBE minority women businesses. So any purchases we make, we have to source out to minority or women businesses with a goal of 30%. Some years we meet that, some we fall short. We also have the SDVOB program, which is Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Businesses. That has a 6% goal. We don't always get there, but we get what we can get.
The expectation is that we will utilize contractors that utilize minorities, are owned by minorities, owned by women, utilize service disabled veterans, if it doesn't impact the cost of the project or the sufficiency of the service. So for instance, Mr. Coltan, with a number of engineering contracts, finds it difficult to find an engineering firm with a minority or women-owned engineering firm with sufficient experience working with dams that we wouldn't compromise the safety of the structure by using somebody that owns a backhoe and is ready to go, but really doesn't understand what they're doing. In those cases, I think we can say to the Economic Development Office, we're not interested. We don't want to put things at risk. But if you're buying toilet paper, you can buy it from somebody who is a minority-owned business, or you can buy it from everybody else. And if you get, the state has an interest in ensuring that there's wider participation.
The underlying theory is that the state reaches out to these entities which have historically been unrepresented or underrepresented in state contracting.
Okay. Does that help?
Yep.
And please don't, we do speak in initials a lot of times. Don't hesitate. We all have to go through this, like, what is happening? Okay. So please, thank you. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Zick? Okay. Chief Fiscal Officer, Mr. Farrar.
Mr. Chairman, my report can be found on pages 16, 61. I'll focus my report today on the status of assessments, both in the Black River area and the Hudson River area. Assessments that pay the bills for both areas went out on July 1. They were due October 31st, so we're now technically at the end of the collection period. In the Hudson River area, with the receipt of Albany and Washington counties assessments. There are 5 counties that pay the bills in the Hudson River area. We previously received Washington and Warren counties. With the receipt of those 2, the only assessment that is outstanding but not due yet is Rensselaer County, and that's for $542,000 and change. And Rensselaer County's assessment is not due till January. They were given an exception to the October 31st rule based on an agreement for that group of counties to be our beneficiaries. So we're in very good shape in the Hudson River area. On the Black River area assessment front, we have 2 groups. We have hydroelectric companies who pay the bills, and also 5 counties in the Black River area who pay the bills. We're pleased to report that with the receipt of Erie Boulevard's assessment, their hydro, their assessment amount is $702,282, represents around 76% of the total assessments received in the Black River area. Total assessments there would be $921,000 and change. With the receipt of Erie's assessment, we're now to date $900,330. So we have 3 very small hydros, 5,000, 8,800, and 5,600 that have not paid yet, and 1 county, Oneida County, in the amount of $1,108. So we're in excellent shape in the Black River area also. And we'll go through the normal process of reaching out we'll reach out directly to the counties, and on the hydro side, we basically send a request to the counties to collect or add the amount due to district on their annual property tax bill, and we generally cover that way. These hydros have typically paid late, so these are not hydros that don't pay us. So I don't have a big concern with that. On the procurement side, we have several contracts out. They're all in different statuses. Schnabel, the big engineering contract for over $1 million, is currently back from the AG. And Penda is out to OSC. They needed 1 document. We provided it, so we should be seeing that contract back. The other big engineering contract in the Black River, Arcadis, Black River area, correct?
Yes.
Towards 6 Lake. I believe that is not back from the vendor yet.
No, I don't have that.
Okay. So once it's back from the vendor, we'll get it prepped to go to the AG, back from the AG, out to OSD, back from OSD, good to go there. And I think that's my report for the day.
Very good. Page 62, we have, I think, some expenses too.
Thank you. We do.
We have board member expense.
Yes, we do. We need to a motion to take care of those expenses.
I'll make the motion.
We have a second.
Mr. Westchester and Mr. Hayes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
I'll abstain.
Any opposed?
I know. I apologize for breaking our budget with $123.96.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you for the report. Chief Engineer, Mr. Fulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report begins on page 63. October was generally dry, both in the Hudson and Black River areas, through and until about the last week in October. The majority of our rain for the month came in that last week or so. The Hudson River area actually just coming up to historic averages in the lake, and about 150%, 160% of average at Conklinville. And despite that heavier rainfall at the end of the month, for the month inflow at Great Stock and Dock Lake was about 82% of historic average. And in the Black River area, actually most of the rainfall that fell at the end of the month tracked and remained to that heavier storm. We had about 150% of historic average precip. But again, despite that, because of the dry nature, the dryness of the month, we only had about a 53% historic average inflow for Stillwater. We did get some additional rain since the writing of my report at the beginning of November, which was excess rainfall and produced quite a bit of runoff. And we actually had to cease releases, discontinued releases for a period of time, both Great Sacandaga, Indian Lake, and Stillwater, storing water during a period of natural high flow in both the Black River and the Hudson River. And as a result, obviously, that storage water caused those reservoirs to rise. We're about 3.6 feet above the target elevation at Great Sacandaga, about 1.5 feet above target at Indian Lake, and about 2.9 feet above at Stillwater. That natural high flow in the rivers now receded, dropped back to the point where we can begin some substantial and if not maximum releases consistent with the operating plans for those facilities. So we should going to be, I think at this point, especially with the colder temperatures, probably just a matter of time, and we'll be down, hopefully by mid-December, down to our targets again, and if not sooner. Additionally, the end of, by August 20th, we placed the last concrete at the ice sluice repair and remediation project at Conklinville. We had a final inspection, which included our engineering consultant, and as far as we can tell, everything went very well. Concrete is in place and now doing its job in strengthening that portion of the structure, which did not previously comply with Federal Energy Regulatory Commission regulations with regard to stability. So that project is complete with the exception of making final payments and filling out the final paperwork and making sure all the waiver of lien requirements and liens are no longer outstanding on it, both the subcontractor and contractor's part, and we'll be finished with that project.
Awesome. Very good.
You want to add, Rick,
Yeah,
with regard to
just
EFC?
remind you, we did receive the first advance from the bond from EFC in the amount of $423,000 and change. So basically, what we've been doing to pay the vendor, in this case Kingsbury, is that we've been using district general fund surplus because we have not received the bond proceeds to date. Now that we've received the funds, we'll now replenish the bond funds. We'll now replenish the general fund surplus with that $423,000, which has not happened yet. It's still sitting in a required debt service account, but it will be moved out of there, and then we'll have it in our general fund available to pay other bills.
Reimburse what we have been paying them on. One other thing I do want to make note of is we had a design change a couple of weeks into the project, which added some materials. Certainly was a modification from the as-bid structure, and when we had a second change order as a result of some unknown conditions. Both of those were approved to keep the project moving along, but we will be coming back to the board in December to ask for approval of that increase in final price. That hasn't been reconciled entirely. We placed less concrete than we thought we would need. I'm hopeful that there'll be some offset there, and it won't be, I think we're in the neighborhood of $63,000, if I'm not mistaken, for the two change orders.
Correct.
But we placed about 130, 140 cubic yards at $700 a cubic yard, less concrete than we had anticipated, just because of the difficulty and the unusual shape of the structure. despite having gone through it multiple times, and there was some adjustment made in the footprint of the project, which also helped to reduce a little bit the amount of concrete. That's a direct savings because we are paying by unit price for the unit that we placed. So despite us estimating 650 cubic yards, we only pay for the 480 cubic yards or so. So there should be some savings, if you will. So hopefully it won't be the full 63,000. And then additionally, there also will be the project was lengthened as a result of the need to modify that. That caused our consultant who was inspecting the project for us to need to be in the field longer. So there's also additional engineering as a result of the construction observation. And we also will be bringing to the board a request to authorize the increase in contract there too. Yes, right.
Mr. Leslie just reminded me that the proceeds, the advance we just received was a result of the actual note closing on November 2nd. Once the note closed on November 9th is when they were able to process the advance. So, and the note was in the amount of $3 million, and change.
I don't have that number.
I think it's $3 million and change.
Okay.
EFC will know what it is.
Right. The note is the amount previously reported to you. The only new report is that the note actually closed.
Okay.
I think that concludes my report. Be happy to take any questions.
Yeah, I just, again, my very first meeting that I ever went to, we talked about an ice sluice. I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
Could you please define an ice sluice?
I certainly can. It's basically a break in the structure at a dam or a spillway. In this case, it was most likely used to pass ice that formed if the water wasn't moving swiftly enough in front of the structure to be able to pass that ice out of from behind the structure. In our particular situation, so that it didn't build up on the racks, the trash racks that are at the entrance to the EJ West hydroelectric facility. And it just is a convenient way to skim it off the top, if you will, of the water surface by opening a set of stop logs in a structure that was wide enough to pass chunks of ice through. They also have log sluices that pass logs downstream. We had one of those for years at Conklinville, but it back in the 80s was also filled in similarly to what we've basically done now to the ice sluice. And its purpose and function no longer exists since we have other means of taking care of or through operation of the facility. Don't need to worry about an issue of ice as we did when it was first constructed. So
Very good, thank you.
So,
Any other questions?
Well,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah.
This is very interesting. So the ice sluice itself,
Yeah.
say that 3 times quickly, is effectively closed and covered over with concrete now?
At Conklinville, it had been closed out a number, probably decades ago. There were actually 2 sets of wooden stop logs in a set of channel, a good 30, 40 feet high.
Wow.
And you would remove those logs to allow a certain amount of water to pass at whatever given elevation the reservoir exists at that time. In between those logs, and I don't know the exact date, it could have been as late as the 80s when we did repair work at Conklinville. The space between that was filled with concrete, so it was effectively made it inoperable since that time. So you could have always reopened it by removing the logs and removing that concrete. Not something I'd probably want be interested in doing because it's just that type of structure is very difficult to actually use. I mean, or it would have required substantial funds to make it operational with some kind of mechanical device. Actually, they used to use log poles. Okay, 20-foot long log pole with a very sharp steel point, and you would jam it into the logs, and 2 guys would lift the logs up trying not to get them bound in the structure, you would lift them up out of place. I mean, that was the way it was left until it was filled with concrete, and it's just a system that no longer needs to be used. And given the structural integrity issues, the best solution was to place that concrete right up against that log chute and make it very permanently disabled.
That was going to be my next. So that effectively was what the repair or the work.
That was part of it, was to strengthen that particular section as well as the concrete on either side.
Make it permanent.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Fulton? Hudson River and Black River Administrator, Mr. Hodgins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report starts at page 97. I attended an ice jam. I attended an ice jam education and training workshop in Watertown. Presently, we are gearing up for the 2018 access permit renewal mailing, and we plan on mailing the renewals out January 2nd. The district has rented an excavator and started shoreline erosion repair on the Great Sacandaga Lake. We have on our work list presently 35 permit areas, or approximately 2,000 feet of shoreline we're looking to repair this season if Mother Nature cooperates. Stillwater, the garage project is coming along very nicely. It's all sealed up. We now have power and water into the new garage. And over the winter, we'll be completing the interior work. That's my report. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you very much. Any board member questions or comments? No. We need a resolution for the next board. We're going to get out of here soon. We need a resolution for the next regular board meeting, which is the 12th of December at the Saratoga Municipal Center in Ballston Spa. I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Now I need a resolution to go into executive session.
Just a motion.
A motion to go into executive.
I'll make the motion.
To talk about personnel issues.
I'll second it.
All in favor? And we will not be having any decisions coming out of.
Inviting anybody to participate?
Yeah, the senior staff can sit here. There's no. Okay, so we're in executive session.